Week 1 is here. Saints host the Cardinals. We welcome back Mike Triplett of NewOrleans.Football. How are you, man?
Good. How are you?
I'm actually doing awesome. I'm pretty excited.
Oh, okay.
I am. I'm excited for the NFL to start, and I'm really excited about a new era of Saints football. Before we talk about this weekend, Mike, realistically, what expectation should I or anyone have for this team?
I think games like this, where you're not playing the elite of the elite NFL teams, there's no at Baltimore on the schedule. There isn't at Buffalo on the schedule. So some of those games are just going to be outclassed. But in a game like this, as long as they can keep as much of their starting 22 on the field as possible, I think it's okay to let yourself hope they can be competitive. They're going to lose more often than they win. But there is some talent littered throughout, the starting 22 when healthy. They're paper thin. Almost any starter they lose in any position group, they drop off super quick. They got no safety net. But, the cover's not completely there. I'm interested to see how Spencer Rattler looks when he has Olave and Shaheed and the new receivers and the offensive line intact with Eric McCoy and the first-round picks at tackle. I'm going to pick the Cardinals to win this game, but, it's a team that, might punch a little above the weight class of everyone picking them to finish 32nd in the NFL. That's the best I can give you.
Okay. You mentioned so long as they stay healthy, which injuries just decimated this team a year ago.
They will happen, yeah.
Yeah, it's hard to predict, but injuries happen to everybody. There's two we got to talk about right now with Trevor Penning and Chase Young. What can you tell us?
Well, not looking good for either one of them playing this week, and that's a real blow with Chase Young because he was one of the guys I was more excited to see. And part of the reason I was excited to see him is because he had the first fully healthy offseason he's had since his rookie year, which was a great rookie year, and then he's dealt with injuries his whole career. And I thought maybe this is what he needs now. He talked today. He's downplaying the significance from what we've heard behind the scenes. It's not going to linger. It's not going to be a big thing, but it could definitely threaten to keep him off the field this week. And that's a shame because I think the pass rush is one of the Saints' biggest weaknesses, and he's their best pass rusher. So can't sugarcoat how much that one means. Penning, I was really interested in seeing him play too. I think he had really taken to this new position. I think there was every indication that this might have been the best fit for him yet. I don't know that there's a huge drop-off from him to Dylan Radins. Not one that moves the line in this game or anything like that, but it's a shame because there was finally a lot of optimism surrounding Trevor Penning. But yeah, Alontae Taylor was another one who came into the week as a question mark. It looks promising for him, and he's really important too because if Arizona's going to have one big mismatch, it's going to be guys like Marvin Harrison and Trey McBride against their secondary.
If Chase Young, Trevor Penning can't go, who gets those reps?
Dylan Radins at left guard, for sure, the veteran who had been a starter with the Titans. He didn't look great in the preseason, but they were moving him around at multiple positions. Left guard is comfortable for him. I would expect at least serviceable there. And then defensive end, obviously you get more Cam Jordan than you otherwise would have if he was third in the rotation. And then Chris Rumpf, veteran who came over and followed Brandon Staley after he'd been a draft pick of his with the Chargers. So, some options, but you'd much rather have Chase Young out there.
No doubt. He's on Twitter at Mike Triplett, NewOrleans.Football. Our chats all throughout the season on these Thursdays are presented by Benny's Car Wash, as they have been for several years now. Remember, you wash every day, unlimited for $17.99, courtesy of Benny's Car Wash. Learn more, bennyscarwash.com. I was asked this earlier today, Mike, and I didn't really have a good answer. What are you expecting from Alvin Kamara this year?
Heavy volume, probably, similar to what we saw from him last year, relying on him as much as they possibly can. And look, this is a coach and a scheme that's going to want to try to rely on the run game as much as it can to keep games close, to protect the quarterback, keep the other team off the field. And then if that goes awry and they have to start passing the ball to catch up, well, how important Alvin is to the passing game. So I think they're high on Kendre Miller and the things they saw from him, but he is just a change of pace option, backup, emergency option. It's going to be all Alvin is going to be as much of an every down type of back as you're going to see in the league.
Who do you think, as you've no doubt started to dive into this matchup Sunday with Arizona, is there a matchup for the Saints offensively that you think is paramount that they'd be successful?
The Saints offense, you're saying, against their defense?
Yeah, against the Arizona defense.
Yeah, look, they got one of the smarter safeties in the league in Budda Baker, who, and frankly, is Jonathan Gannon, the head coach. I mean, it's a deceptive, disguising defense. They're going to try to fool Spencer Rattler, change things up at the line of scrimmage, move around, play robber against him. So that's the obvious matchup. I think the Saints will be able to run the ball. If they can't, they're in big, big trouble.
If you flip it over to the other side, do the Saints have an advantage anywhere with their defense against Arizona's offense?
The one thing I am most positive on with the Saints this year, at least from an improving standpoint, is I think they're going to have a pretty good run defense, or a good enough run defense at least. I think Devon Gottschall was a terrific addition. I think this scheme is built to be pretty good against the run. I don't think, now how that will translate against Kyler Murray. You still got to be disciplined in your rush lanes. You can't be over-aggressive and leave wide openings for him. But if Arizona's trying to establish a run with James Conner, I think the Saints are going to hold their own in that department.
If this game goes New Orleans' way, and Mike, there were so many guys we just didn't even see during camp or the preseason. Justin Reed comes to mind. There was guys. You mentioned Gottschall, so it's going to be different. The team we see out there against Arizona is going to be different than the team we've seen for the last month in whatever exhibitions it's looked like. But if there is a path for the Saints to win this game, what do you think that looks like?
Well, I think there's a couple of things that could derail that path. I think they need to make sure, I mentioned their names earlier, or I mentioned the secondary being something Arizona could potentially pick on. Kool-Aid McKinstry has to show up. Alante Taylor has to look like himself, even though he missed all 3 preseason games. Because I feel like Marvin Harrison is going to remind everyone why he was the no-brainer top 5 draft pick last year, even though he didn't have the season that the LSU guys had, Neighbors and Brian Thomas. He could take the top off them right away. Trey McBride is probably the most explosive tight end in the league now. They cannot let Arizona have anything cheap and easy and free. No pick sixes. Try not to turn it over. Try not to give up those 60, 70, 80-yard explosive touchdowns. Make Arizona work for everything they do. And then, I think Kellen Moore can put together a smart game plan. I think they're going to constantly want to be in 2nd and 5, 3rd and 1. They are going to want to be in advantageous positions, and they can do that as long as they don't give Arizona freebies and find themselves down quick.
Mike Triplett, NewOrleans.Football. Of course, you can read about it there. Catch all their content at NewOrleans.Football. He's on Twitter at Mike Triplett, and our conversations all throughout this year are brought to you by Benny's Car Wash. You can learn more about all their great deals and packages at bennyscarwash.com, bennyscarwash.com. Mike, we appreciate it, man. I'm looking forward to doing this all throughout the year again. Thanks for the time.
All right. Thanks for having me.
It's our pleasure. Hey, thanks so much for watching. Please leave your comments. I love to interact. And be sure to hit the red subscribe button below.